we're just not good enough. You know, we don't obviously chemistry, talent-wise, just everything, and it was clear. Like I said, these last few games, they just, you know, from the beginning of the game, they were just aggressive. Veteran team, obviously, championship team, and you know, one of the best teams that we have in this league. You know, I love this city. I literally, you know, have done everything that I can. You know, I mean, this situation is crazy. You know, it's something that I don't think can be fixed. So, yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna need some size for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some size and you know, some defense in the interior.
Yeah.
Especially with Giannis and LeBron James
Without
playing
question.
such great basketball this year. I need somebody to offset that, so I'm gonna go with Rudy Gobert.
I agree.
That worked out nicely for you.
That worked out nice.
But you're one of the most famous unvaccinated people in the country. I mean,
That sounds crazy to me.
But that's the reality, though. You are one of the most famous people in the country.
But I'm not the only one.
No, you're not. I'm just.
That's what I'm saying. Fame is socially created, bro. I'm not. I hear what you're saying, but I gotta go to Grady's question. Like being the most famous unvaccinated player, what does that even mean?
Well,
I don't even know what that means in my life.
Well. It is time, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. The Brooklyn Nets Big Three, it's over. Who would have thought it would end like this? Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden, the trio that was supposed to destroy the NBA. It's just been a year and it's already been destroyed itself. I love it, for real. I love to see super teams get destroyed. Obviously, if it's not through injury, if it just ends up being a departure like this, I love to see it because it's better like this. The league is better when it's just duos instead of this super team trio bullshit. And now that James Harden is a Sixer and not a Brooklyn Net, it's time for me to dissect where this trio went wrong. And in this video, I'm going to prove to you guys why this was somewhat inevitable from the beginning, just like Thanos always said. Because when you break down all three of these guys individually before and after this situation, it's very obvious that this was never gonna work out from the beginning. The only thing is that it ended a lot sooner than we all thought. But before we get started, you guys, what are you doing? Drop a like on this video already to help me out with the algorithm, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Press that bell for post notifications. We're almost at 70,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. We're on the road to 100K. But speaking of K's, I think that should lead us to our first member of this video. Not Kevin Durant, but Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving, if I'm being honest, he's the main culprit of this shit. Honestly, let's just call a spade a spade. Kyrie Irving is the main reason why this shit is over already. And I know Kyrie Irving fans are gonna jump on me in the comment section. It's his decision. It's his personal decision. Why are you roasting him for it? And I'm here to tell you guys, guess what? I do not give a fuck what you're saying right now, because you guys cape for this nigga way too hard. Nobody is paying you to dick ride that hard, bruh. Because I am here to 100% support Kyrie Irving's personal decision. It's his own personal right. He has that right. Go ahead and do so, Kyrie. It's America, right? It's the land of freedom. You can exercise that freedom. I have no problem with that. But when you make a personal decision that is affecting your entire team, that's when it all goes south. Because your team didn't do anything to deserve you not playing. When you guys lost last year in the playoffs, I'm sure Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, they knew, look, if we get fully healthy, we're gonna run through everybody in the East and get to the finals and inevitably win a championship. That's just how it's gonna be. And for all we know, maybe there were guys on the team that did not want to get vaccinated, but because New York made a law that workers in the state have to be vaccinated, they chose to get the shot because that's what was best for the team. But Kyrie Irving decided to put what's best for him ahead of the team. And this is not some situation where your health is at risk. It's not a situation where the shot is going to affect Kyrie Irving's health. He's not doing this because he's anti-vaccine either. He's not doing this because he's pro-vaccine either. He's doing this because he's against people losing their jobs because of the vaccine. Well, Kyrie Irving, let me tell you something. That's not gonna change because you don't get the vaccine. The NBA did not stop because of you not playing. We kept going on and on and on, and we didn't think about you. But you know who did think about you? The Brooklyn Nets, the team that you abandoned because you don't want to get a needle in your arm. This team has to go out there with guys like DeAndre Bembry and Patrick Mills having to play major minutes, and look, I like Patty Mills, but niggas like Javon Carter, Paul Millsap, cap, yeah, they just should not be sniffing an NBA court. And guess what, Kyrie? Your team was struggling because you didn't want to get that needle in your arm. And I wouldn't be shocked if this nigga Kyrie was sitting at home thinking, man, I should have got that shot, but it's too late to back out now. So at the end of the day, when you want to look at the problems with the Brooklyn Nets, it all goes back to that decision of Kyrie Irving not wanting to get the vaccine. If he gets vaccinated, James Harden is going to get in much better shape having a lesser load on his plate instead of having to be the scorer and the playmaker for the team, especially when Kevin Durant's not there. Because of course, in a situation where you have a big three, the team is going to be very thin due to the fact that you sacrifice your depth and some of your defense usually in these situations for your top three. And when you have to play with only 2 out of 3 and one of those 3 are recovering from a hamstring injury that was a pretty serious injury for him, and the other third is not even there, it's obviously going to be a very tough situation for any coach to have to manage, especially a second-year coach in Steve Nash. And I'm just honestly at the point with Kyrie Irving that can't we just accept that this guy just likes to ruin teams? Like honestly, can we not accept that? When he was in Cleveland, he had the perfect role, just to be the second option to LeBron James. He left to go be the man in Boston after saying that the earth was flat, and then he failed miserably with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as his sidekicks. And then after failing with those guys, falling flat on his face, getting outplayed by Eric Bledsoe in the second round of the playoffs, he then proceeded to go be the sidekick to Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. I mean, make it make sense. You win a championship with LeBron James as the second option, and then you go to Brooklyn to do exactly what you left LeBron to not do. Come on, it's just stupid to me. And I could go into further depth, but I honestly think I'm gonna save that for a video on my second channel because Kyrie Irving, man, I could make a whole documentary of his fuck ups in the league. But speaking of fuck ups in the league, man, KD. Look, KD is not some fuck up, but he fucked up in terms of his decision in free agency a couple of years ago. Now, I'm not here to pull a Stephen A. Smith and say that KD's gonna be remembered as the guy who left Steph Curry because I think that's just ridiculous. If you remember Kevin Durant like that, then you're just a lame ass hater. But I do think it's tough when you look at Kevin Durant's free agency decisions in his career. He left Oklahoma City. Obviously, he didn't want to play with Westbrook or in that entire organization because it was clear that they peaked at what they were. They were never going to win a championship with that duo unless they moved one of them. And I understand KD's thought process. I gotta win a championship. I don't want to be like Charles Barkley. I'm too great of a player to be remembered without a championship on my resume. So he decides to go to the Golden State Warriors, and all was cool for a couple of years until he finally accepted that his rings are kinda bullshit. Now to me, I don't believe in any ring having an asterisk, but I do understand the value of some rings compared to others. At the end of the day, Kevin Durant, you did not earn those rings the way that LeBron did in Cleveland or Dirk did in Dallas. And those are somewhat extremes. You could even look at other scenarios like Kawhi Leonard in Toronto, Giannis with Milwaukee, Tim Duncan in the Spurs, the Pistons in 04. And some people may be looking at those scenarios and saying, bro, you're picking apart some of the all-time finals. Well, that's kind of my point. Whenever you're looking at a championship, it's supposed to define who you are as a player. It's supposed to be an all-time moment. But when you look at Kevin Durant's rings, how many of them can you say, man, that's an all-time moment? It's all-time performances, but as a moment individually, it's not something that compares. That's why I always give him credit for the rings, because he balled out, and they did lose the year before he got there. He played better than LeBron James in the finals, at least the first time. Second time is somewhat debatable. So at the end of the day, you have to give him his credit where it's due. Two-time finals MVP, well deserved. But as sad as it sounds, Kevin Durant, your legacy is somewhat kind of shady, because you took a route that nobody else in history has taken to win a championship. You joined a 73-9 Golden State Warriors team that won without you. And in order to cement your legacy, you need to prove that you can win without the chips stacked so heavily in your favor. So going to Brooklyn in idea makes sense. You team up with Kyrie Irving, who needs his superstar to lead him because he ain't doing shit as the #1 guy. They're close friends, so it's not going to be like a LeBron, Kyrie, mentor-mentee type of thing, because obviously Kyrie don't like that shit. But once you get to Brooklyn, you gotta take a year off, obviously the Achilles, and when you come back, Kyrie Irving does the part-time thing and you bring in James Harden. Now, if we freeze the frame and we take 1 second to think about the things that's happened in Kevin Durant's life over the last year or so, we'll see that he left Golden State to get more credit to win with without a super team. Then he goes to Brooklyn and then forms a super team and tries to win. Now, obviously it's a little bit different. The Warriors were better and they won without him. So there's that thing of, oh, we did it without you. Who cares? But for you to then win with a super team in a different city, is it not somewhat the same thing? Obviously, I'm not saying he should have just said no to James Harden coming. I mean, who would? But I'm just saying, winning in that scenario with James Harden and Kyrie Irving, you're still gonna have those criticisms of, oh, he never won without a super team. And I think that's gonna be the main factor of why people are not gonna say you're as good as LeBron or as good as Jordan or Larry Bird or whoever it is you're being compared to. So let's just get that out of the way. But where I think KD really fucked up was when he signed his contract extension. I truly don't understand why he did that. I heard the people saying that, oh, he did it to spite Stephen A because Stephen A said he was going to be a New York Knick maybe in free agency, which I don't understand why Stephen A keeps pushing that agenda. It's just never gonna happen, bro. Let it go. But him signing that extension was a mistake, I cannot lie, because then you put yourself in a situation where you have to stay in Brooklyn unless they trade you. And with a contract like that, you're gonna be traded for a hell of a lot wherever you go. So now you're just stuck in Brooklyn. Meanwhile, Kyrie Irving has a player option next year and James Harden is now gone. And to be fair to Kevin Durant, I don't even believe a lot of this stuff is his fault. The majority of it isn't, but he did sign up to going to Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving as his teammate, knowing the baggage he has in all the other places he's been at, and signing off on James Harden joining him. I'm not blaming him for those decisions, but you have to live with them. He is a grown man. But speaking of grown men, or should I say fat men, that brings us to fat suit James Harden. Now when it comes to Harden, I can see both sides of why people love what he did and hate what he did. Because on one hand, I understand playing with somebody who's just not there. Because when you left Houston, you left because the team was just not good around you and you didn't want to have to carry that load. So you come into this season expecting to not do that, and then you have to do that because Kyrie Irving doesn't want to get a needle in his arm and get the vaccine. And then on top of that, you have to play yourself into shape because you're recovering from a devastating hamstring injury that cost you a good chunk of your career. Because as someone who watched James Harden up close in Houston that I lived, James Harden was a pretty injury-free player. The memes about him being fat with the beer belly have always existed, but he usually kept himself in good enough shape to always play a good chunk, if not all, of the season, which is a big reason why, aside from his play, he was always in MVP contention every year, it felt like. So when I saw him with that hamstring injury, I knew it was pretty severe because Harden doesn't miss games usually. And when you look at earlier this season, he clearly was not in the best of shape and he was recovering from that hamstring injury. So if you're going through that and then the team offers you some contract extension while Kyrie Irving can't play, you're recovering from the injury like I said earlier, and the role players around you and Kevin Durant are just not that good, why would you even want to stay in an environment like that? You left Houston because you wanted to win a championship, and now you're on a team where you have the pieces, but one of them that you need to win that championship does not want to play. If I'm James Harden, I would want out of that situation too. But on the other hand, I do understand why some people are annoyed at James Harden. You're the one who let yourself get out of shape to get that hamstring injury in the first place. Let's not forget he let himself get a little fat to get out of Houston anyway. And you're the one that was saying scary hours this, scary hours that throughout the entire offseason. You think I was gonna forget about that, James? And no matter what the situation is, for you to go out there and sulk and then have these bad performances because you're not giving 100% effort, that's unacceptable. I mean, bro, this is not high school where you have some petty beef with your teammate. This is the NBA, professional basketball. Grow up. I understand you wanted to be traded and you did get your wish, but you can't just pout your way out of everything in life. And it's crazy I say that, but it did work out for him because he's in the situation that he wanted to be in. I guess just different rules apply to different people in life, but that's life, right? But that then brings me to my ultimate conclusion, why this was destined to fail from the beginning. And it simply comes down to the players involved in this big three. If you look at them all individually, it's no surprise that they failed collectively. When it comes down to health, Kyrie Irving is never that reliable to begin with, and you can say the COVID stuff is an anomaly, but Kevin Durant, look at him. He's coming off of an Achilles injury. That's not surprising that he's getting hurt. And in the case of James Harden, look at what he did to get out of Houston. He had to let himself get out of shape in order to do so. And as far as the rest of the roster around them, I'm not even gonna kill the Nets front office for that, because when you have these big threes and super teams, you're expected to lose something, and it's usually gonna be your depth. And I don't know if enough people know this, but when James Harden got traded from Houston to Brooklyn, season, there was a report that came out that Kyrie Irving was not happy about it. And I even remember the conversation of trading Kyrie Irving for James Harden was on the table at a point in time. Now, obviously you can't believe everything that you read, but when you look at the things that have transpired over the last 24 to 48 hours with this Brooklyn Nets team, I have to say a lot of these things somewhat check out. So at the end of the day, this Brooklyn Nets super team, I have to say it was indeed a failure. Obviously things transpired to contribute to them being a failure, but nonetheless a failure is a failure. But now I throw the question to you guys. How do you guys look at this Brooklyn Nets big three? Do you look at it as a failure? Do you believe it's James Harden's fault, Kyrie Irving's fault, hell, Kevin Durant's fault? You guys let me know your opinions down below in the comment section and I'll respond to as many people as possible. But that concludes this video. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.